Hi there, Mahmood. Thank you for submitting your first essays for correction, and well done for sticking with us this far in the course. My name's Andrew, and I'll be correcting your work each time you submit it. I'll be giving you some general guidance towards what the IELTS examiner is looking for, as well as correcting some grammar and vocabulary issues. So let's begin with your introduction. So the first sentence should always be an introduction to the contention, two sides of the argument, which you have done. But a couple of things I would change. I say a part of society proposes that employees should stick to one job throughout their career. I would say throughout their career. Till the end. One, till is until. We don't use the shortened version in academic writing. And the end makes it sound like you're talking about death. And really we just want to talk about the entirety of a career. While others believe they should change their work from time to time. This is good, but to make it sound more formal, I would say occasionally. Change their work occasionally. In my view, it depends on the employee's passion towards... See, I wouldn't use gender-specific pronouns when we don't know the gender. This is any employee. So really, it should be an employee's passion towards either his or her work, or we can use the singular they. So we could say it depends on an employee's passion towards their work and overall ease at dealing with life's expenses. This is good, but I would make it clear that you somewhat agree with both sides. So I'd say, in my view, I somewhat agree with both sides of the argument, as it depends on the employee's passion towards their work and their overall ease at dealing with life's expenses. So in a body paragraph, what's important is that we generally introduce the idea first, which you have done. Some jobs offer high salaries. I wouldn't use this. I would say to introduce the idea, we should include a little bit of this. I would say, firstly, jobs with higher salaries motivate employees to remain in those positions. More specifically, employees who are satisfied tend to work for the same corporation for their entire career as it provides for their necessities. So we should rephrase this slightly so it's more clear. So we should say, for instance, a waiter who earns 3 times the average salary of other waiters will most likely be unable to find a better offer. One thing is that we have now used the word employee quite a lot, and in writing we should avoid repetition. We should try to think of a variety of words to say the same thing, so that our writing isn't boring. Also, I don't like using these negative sentences because it introduces too many words and they tend to be slightly ambiguous. So we could say, he will be less likely to find a better offer, or he will most likely be unable to find a better offer. And here, to make this sound a bit more formal, we could use conversely. Conversely, that same employee will lean towards leaving a job with few benefits that only pays the national minimum wage. So here, discussion is about how salary impacts motivation to stay or leave in a job. So you have a clear core idea to that paragraph, and it's well expanded. It's good. So once again, try not to use gender-specific pronouns. We could use a plural here as well. So we could say, people's love towards their work also plays a major role in job satisfaction. For example, a person who is interested mostly in mechanics and design will most likely lean towards working in, I would say, will most likely lean towards jobs or lean towards roles that involve cars. Because there are many jobs that involve cars. If we say that they will be attracted specifically to that one job, we narrow down our area of thought. So next, I'm not quite the meaning of this sentence is unclear. It appears that you're trying to use a comparative than those jobs taken only for covering living costs. So those jobs taken primarily for the money, just so people can get by. But how does that work? So my recommendation with this answer is that, well, my first thought with this answer is that you've started with the correct idea, but then you've drifted off from it somewhat. Because this question asks whether you believe employees should stay in one job or whether they should switch jobs. So it's asking what you think people ought to do. So what you've done instead is explained why people do stick in jobs and why people change jobs. But what we need to discuss is what they should be doing. Is it better to stick in one job, or is it better to vary your jobs? What most people do with these questions is analyze ideas such as the benefits to gaining additional experience. So if you change jobs frequently, you will have the opportunity to get higher salaries because you will increase the breadth of your experience and be more able to perform a variety of roles. This also reduces the risk of redundancy because the person with the larger skill set has more to offer. The argument for staying in one job is along the lines of loyalty, and that staying with one workplace for your entire life will develop a depth of skill, that you'll become a master of one particular thing, and that's incredibly valuable, as well as getting the benefits of staying with a company, such as a pension and security. And then we conclude with what we think is better for people. So here you've just said about that it depends, that employees switch jobs for a number of reasons, and it's up to them. But the question asks for your opinion. What do you think is better and why? So in future, maybe dwell on the question for a few minutes first to make sure that you've got exactly the correct response at hand. But let's move on to your next piece. So for these task ones, what we want to do is build up a picture of the graph gradually. Make sure there's enough detail in there so that the examiner can understand exactly what's going on without really having to look at the graph. So here I would just say the bar chart illustrates, and then it's not the number of birds affected, it's the number of humans. Bird flu is a disease that originates in birds but affects humans. So the bar chart illustrates the total number of people affected each year by bird flu, we don't need this, worldwide between 1990 and 2000. So we've got in this next sentence, we have two measurements of time, which we don't need. We could just say, overall, there was an increase in the total number of casualties each year since 1990. The infection rate peaked between 1997 and 2000 at a total of around 175,000 casualties. In 1990, an estimated number, so it's not estimated because it's in the past, it's measured, it's confirmed. This is a statistic from the World Health Organization, it is fact, so it's not estimated. In 1990, a total number of 120,000 infected people were counted. This remained stable until 1992, when deaths went up by around 10,000. I'm not sure that this refers to deaths specifically. Bird flu casualties, I think I could only take to mean infected people. People who came down with the disease, people who caught it. 2 years later, casualties increased to around 145,000 in 1994, and between 95 and 96, the number grew to 150,000. You can't use respectively in this manner. We should just say, and between 1995 and 1996, the number grew to 150,000. A sudden increase in the infection rate was experienced in 1997, adding a further 20,000 casualties. For the remainder of the period, people infected with bird flu remained almost the same, fluctuating between 170,000 and 180,000. So you've got the idea perfect here. You know exactly what you're describing. You simply need to string your sentences together a little bit better and stay away from... So we have a couple of understanding issues here. It was people affected by bird flu, and it was casualties. Casualties just means people affected by. It doesn't necessarily mean that they died. But for your first essays, we're looking really good. I reckon over the next few corrections, we'll be getting you up well above a band 7. All the best, Mahmood. I will speak to you very soon.